Welcome everybody to FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. This is the Fighting Irish Daily Blitz, and I'm your host, Rob Fedoff, also known as RPT. You can find me on X at PFedoff. This is episode 130, but first things first, head over to our website at fanstreamsports.com. Please feel free to share that with your friends and family. A couple days ago, I did the men's basketball recap for the month of February. I'm going to do the same thing for the women's basketball team. First things first, I know this is kind of trivial, but I always hold other podcasters to high standards. I got to hold myself to those high standards. I kept going back and forth between Marcus Burton and Coach Micah Shrewsbury the other day in the men's recap. However, I kept saying Marcus Shrewsbury because I was getting him mixed up with Marcus Burton, our star freshman point guard. And maybe I was thinking of Marcus Freeman too, the head football coach. But I know this, it's Micah Shrewsbury, the head men's basketball coach for the basketball team. I just wanted to clear that right away. Micah Shrewsbury, men's basketball coach. Okay, so having said that, for the month of February, the women went 7-2. We literally just got done. Tonight was the last game against Virginia Tech. Huge win against Virginia Tech. I thought we had no chance of winning this game. I'm eating crow. I hope I continue to eat crow for all of March. That would be great. But I still think this team has some issues they have to work out. And I don't know if we can work them out by the end of the season, because I just think we're kind of short-staffed right now with the amount of players we have. But having said that, tonight was a great game. Before I get into the actual recap for the month of February, Virginia Tech, it's a Final Four team from last year. They actually had LSU beat in the Final Four last year before they made a nice comeback, and then LSU was the eventual champion. The whole team is back this year, Virginia Tech, that is, and they're one of the favorites to get back to the Final Four. They have a awesome inside-out combo with a great point guard. She's from New Zealand, Georgia Amore, and then Elizabeth Kitley, the center. However, we held her in check tonight, especially Elizabeth Kitley. I know I get on Kylie Watson a lot, especially offensively, because I think she's a huge offensive liability for us. But she didn't have a great game, but defensively, she held her own against Elizabeth Kitley, had some blocks, had some rebounds, still didn't score any points. We'll get into that a little bit later. So let's just, right now, Notre Dame sits at 22-6 for the season. We have one game left. They're currently 12-5 in the ACC. That ties for fourth against Louisville. That's big because this Sunday, I know I'm not supposed to do this, because this will be after the fact, this type of schedule. However, there's only one game left before the ACC tournament. I think this is fine to do this. This Sunday, ESPN at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Notre Dame plays at home against Louisville. If we win that game, we're in the top four overall in the ACC, and you get a double bye in the women's ACC tournament next week. That's huge to have a double bye. And if we finish with a 4 seed for the March Madness tournament, you host those first 2 rounds of basketball games. That's if you get to the second round. You first got to win that first round, which we should. I still have some doubts about that even. And then if you win that second game, you're into the Sweet 16. But it's always nice to open up the tournament on your home court, that is, as I got tongue-tied there. So 22-6. Let's go through the schedule for February. So at Georgia Tech, we won that game 85-48. And I always like to do turnovers here and then overall free throw percentage at the end. So 85-48, won that game. We had 11 turnovers. Kylie Watson, I told you, I'm always on her case because she is an offensive liability. I feel at times when she's in there, it's just 4 players on offense. I'm sure she's a great person. She'll do well after college. But right now she has no offense. She's not an offensive threat. And I really just don't think she helps her team that much right now on the offensive side. However, she had 19 points and 9 rebounds. I got to think this was one of those games on the ACC network that I do not get. I got to think, what kind of inside game did Georgia Tech have for her to have 19 points? They must have had the size of the Lollipop Kids from the Wizard of Oz. If you remember that show, the Munchkins from the Wizard of Oz, they called them the Lollipop Kids. I got to think their inside game was the size of those Lollipop Kids, as I say that jokingly. However, I digress. Let's get to the schedule. Back to the schedule. At home against Pitt, we won that 78-53. Only 9 turnovers. And then tough road loss against Louisville. We just did not shoot the ball well that game. Lost 73-66. had 17 turnovers. I think we were about 2 of 17 from the 3-point range. Can't do that. At Florida State, we won 98-94 in 2 overtimes. That was a great game. We trailed by 10 early, came back. We had so many chances to win that game in regulation. I thought there were some questionable, how can I say this? We had, I think, 2 chances to win in the end of regulation in the first overtime. Coach Ivy calls a timeout, but it's more or less a play where give the ball to Hannah Hidalgo, star point guard. I get it. She more or less milks the clock down to 5 seconds and then takes a bad shot. To me, I know a lot of, not just Notre Dame, but other teams have been doing that too lately with their last second shots, where they're taking a play out of the Hoosiers movie where it's like, give it to Jimmy Chitwood and let him do what he does and hits game-winning shots. It doesn't work in the real world all the time. I just think could be better out of bounds plays coming out of a timeout than just giving the ball to your star player. And then instead of them just dribbling, milking the clock, and then putting up a bad shot is what I'm trying to say. So before I get too long-winded there, won that game 98-94, 2 overtimes, and 11 turnovers. NC State at home, this was an awful game. We got down by about 15 points early, ended up losing this game. NC State's a quality team, but we should still beat them at home. We lost 59-43. I think that was one of the lowest points of the season so far. 15 turnovers in that game. Then we go at Duke, get down early again. A lot of these games, up until tonight, the previous 5 games, we got off to really slow starts and we're down by 10 points early on. And with Duke, that was the same case. It was on the road. However, that was a pretty big win on the an ACC road win, 70-62, 17 turnovers, still too many turnovers. Then Clemson at home, who's no good. We win 74-47, 15 turnovers, too many. At Boston College, a horrible team. We're down 10, 12 points early on again. And we had beaten Boston College at home earlier by 50. We impose our will in the second half. We win 79-55, 14 turnovers. So even during the ACC halftime show, former coach Muffet McGraw is an analyst for them. She says, too, I don't get this. This is 5 games in a row where they're just shitting the bed early on. And you can get away with it with bad teams with Boston College. Both the NC States, we got lucky with Duke. They're a quality team and won that game. Both NC State, we got killed by coming out so slow and never could come back. Tonight, though, Virginia Tech, I said we would lose by 15. I thought Elizabeth Kitley would kill us. She looked bad tonight. I mean, Kylie Watson, I'll give her credit defensively. I know offensively she's a liability. She made her look awkward at times. Maddie Westfeld really did well, too. I think, too, Maddie Westfeld should just be our full-time center and then just do whatever with Kylie Watson. But we came out aggressive. There was no slow start to this game. The crowd was energized, just in your face, just tenacious defense. It was a great job, Coach Ivy. I've been on her case a lot this year, but tonight this team came ready to play. They weathered the storm when Virginia Tech made a run, but we ended up winning 71-58, only 9 turnovers. The only criticism I had was, even though Hannah Hidalgo played a great game, she missed 5 free throws. She could have had about 30 points, but she didn't. So that's the schedule recap. My second talking point, despite having a decent month of February with a 7-2 record, there's still what's wrong is my topic here. So what's wrong with this team still? And it's just these slow starts. I know tonight, if I going back to this Virginia Tech game, tonight our big 3, we have Maddie Westfeld, 19 points. Hannah Hidalgo, 23 points. Sonia Citron, 21 points. That was 21 points in the second half. She did not look good in the first half, but man, she came out big time in the second half and really played well. If it wasn't for Sonia Citron, who knows what would have happened for this game. But by her coming out in the second half, she solidified this win for us. But there's our big 3. Like in the Connecticut game, where only 4 players scored. Tonight, we still had, I think, let me go back to this again. So Kylie Watson did not score. Anna DeWolf, even though she only scored 2 points, she played some really good defense on, what was her? Georgia Amore, their point guard. She really held her in check for most of the game when she was guarding her, that is. Nat Marshall had a decent game off the bench, 4 points, hit both her only shot she took and then her only 2 free throws. KK Bransford, though, this is, again, what's wrong. She's a McDonald's All-American. She's now a sophomore from Cincinnati. To me, she looks way too slow out there. Maybe it was just a average year for McDonald's All-Americans when she wasn't a McDonald's All-American 2 years ago. But with those big 3 that we have right now, it'd be nice to have a big 4 or just a 3.5, just some sort of complimentary, because I will say this with KK Bransford. I don't know if this was the Duke game or the Florida State game as I look at my notes here. She can, though, find some open spaces when a team's, whether they're playing tight man-to-man or a zone defense. She can kind of be that little baseline going back and forth, finding those open spots. She does that very well, but creating her own shot, she's not a great shooter. She really has to work on her game this offseason, but I just thought she would have been better by now. What else? When we play zone defense, it's awful. I remember Florida State when we got down early in that game, but then we came back. We were kind of controlling the game. We go back to a zone defense, and I get it. We're pretty limited right now with 6 or 7 players. You don't want to get them in foul trouble, but too many open looks during some of these games, and it's easier 3-point shots, and the team starts making the 3-point shots to get back in the game. Tonight was all man-to-man. I mean, just tenacious man-to-man defense. I didn't see one time where we played zone, which was great, but our zone, awful. Hannah Hidalgo, as great as she is, she's not a great shooter yet. She's a streaky shooter. A lot of her points are layups. Now, granted, they're very hard to make layups because she's going up against the trenches, the really big girls out there, making 3-point plays that way. But she's got to become a better shooter. I keep saying maybe she's the next Caitlin Clark, but she's nowhere near Caitlin Clark as a shooter. Too many turnovers still, too many slow starts. Tonight, they weathered that storm. They did not have slow start, but I don't know if this is sustainable when you still just have what I call the big 3 of Maddie Westbeld, Sonia Citron, and Hannah Hidalgo. It's not sustainable for them to just keep scoring in double figures. They got to get some help from a KK Bransford, Kylie Watson, do something, because the 2 times she actually had a good chance to get a shot off tonight, she traveled. And one of the times she had pretty much a wide open layup. She's 6'4", 6'5". She got blocked by a girl that was 6 foot 6'1". She has no leaping ability at all. I know I'm being hard, but it is what it is right here. But even Coach Muffet McGraw, during that ACC halftime show, said too, when they were struggling against Boston College of all teams, set some high-low screens, get some easy buckets. She was such a master at that with her teams. Even though they were didn't have the size of certain teams, because even her teams didn't have great size except for when they won it in 2001 and 2018. But we got to improvise sometimes to put Coach Ivy has to put her players in the best position to succeed, is what I'm trying to say. Because right now that inside game is just not good. I mean, right now, I know this is going to sound harsh. I would take Natalie Achanwa, a decent player back in the day, kind of a little bit undersized to play center, but I would take a second-tier Natalie Achanwa, a second-tier Devereaux Peters. This is going to sound really – Brianna Turner, pretty decent center for Notre Dame. She was on the 2018 team but tore her ACL, had to sit out most of that season, so then she got a red shirt for 2019, the national runner-up team. I would take a Brianna Turner right now that has a torn ACL over this inside game right now. It's that bad offensively. Defensively, it works here and there. They did a great job tonight against Virginia Tech. But offensively, I would take Brianna Turner with a torn ACL over both Kylie Watson and Nat Marshall right now. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is right now. And I know with the injuries this year, but that's what Coach Ivy has to do, put her players in the best position to succeed. What else here? So third talking point, I kind of said it already. What's next for this team in March? We have one game left this Sunday. Check that out on ESPN2 against Louisville. If we win that game, top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. And then, double bye. We'll see what we can do in the ACC tournament. Now, 2 years in a row now, Virginia Tech, who won the ACC tournament last year, we beat them in regular season play. We did that again this year. That's a really damn good team we beat tonight. And I'm ecstatic. I hope I'm wrong. Here's the thing, too. I know I can sound negative at times. And this team, 22-6 with all the injuries, that's pretty damn good. However, just the sustainability when you only have about 6 to 7 players you can go to, I don't know how far of a run you can make in the tournament right now. I would love to go to the Final Four. I'd love to win a national title. I know that's wishful thinking probably. I could see if they play like they did tonight, yes, they could go very far. But if they have an effort like they had in the last 5 games previously when they get down by 10 points against really bad teams, they're probably not making it past the second round or maybe getting upset in the first round, even at home. It's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type of team right now, but still a solid season. Next year with Olivia Miles coming back and Emma Risch, who else? I totally forgot about Cass Prosper. She's out this year. And you have Kate Koval, or Koval. I think it's Koval, McDonald's All-American. I know KK Bransford was a McDonald's All-American, not playing like it right now. But Kate Koval, I think she's 6'4", 6'5", about the number 3rd player ranked for a high school player this year. True inside presence we'll have next year to really get a gauge if, Coach Ivy is the heir apparent to Coach McGraw. Because what I don't want to see either, I don't want to see us turn into Tennessee. Pat Summitt, great coach for Tennessee all those years. She battled it out with Gina Auriemma and those UConn teams. I think she won over 5 national titles, if not more. Had to retire because she got Alzheimer's disease. Awful. Died way too young. I think her assistant took over and then she called it quits. And now her former player, I think her name's Kelly Jolly, great player for her. And she's a decent coach, but they're pretty mediocre. I know it seemed like a big win when we won that game at Tennessee earlier this season. We were down by 15, 16 points. And actually we used our inside presence to win that game and defensively to win that game. But they're nothing like they were against Pat Summitt. I just don't want that to happen with this team. And I think we're really going to see next year with all the talent that we have and hopefully no injuries. And I like to know too, who the hell is our athletic trainer for this team? Maybe it's just bad luck too, but 2 years in a row now, we've just been gutted by injuries. And hopefully that's not the case next year. As I look at my notes here, just to kind of wrap up for the month of February, but hopefully I'm eating crow. And again, I hate to be negative in that second talking point, but despite the great game tonight, that was an awesome game. We beat a damn good team tonight. We imposed our will on them. I mean, we were not afraid. I mean, that was just a smash mouth, especially the way we held them defensively. Elizabeth Kitley looked so uncomfortable tonight. And I get my hat, as much as I get on Kylie Watson's ass about her offensive, how can I say this? Her just offensive misgivings, whatever you want to call it. She really played well defensively tonight. Didn't score any points, but I'll get my hats off to Kylie Watson and Nat Marshall. In the minutes she did play, she did well tonight, but it's still not. I just keep thinking, God, if we just had an inside game, God knows how good this team would be. Because I tell you what, I know South Carolina is undefeated. We lost by 25 points or 20 points in the first game of the season. And athletically, I don't know how well we would match up in a rematch with them. But taking South Carolina aside, if you look at Virginia Tech, Ohio State, Iowa, LSU, if we play like we did tonight, we can beat all those teams I just mentioned there. It's just, can the big three do what they did tonight? Because the thing is, if I'm an opposing coach, I'm just focusing on those big three. I don't care what the inside game is. I'm taking my chances because I know we're lucky to get 6 points total between Kylie Watson and Nat Marshall. It's just the way it is. So hopefully I'm eating crow. I'm challenging Notre Dame women's basketball right now. Make me eat crow for the rest of the month of March. Shut me up. Do well in the tournament. surprised me because I love it. I love, like, tonight I texted my uncle before, Uncle Dinger, who watches these all the time, and he said, "Hey, you going to watch the game time?" I'm like, "Yeah, but we're going to lose by 15. Elizabeth Kitley is going to kick our ass tonight." I was totally wrong. It was pretty much the flip of the actual score tonight. And I hope I'm eating crow the entire month of March. That would be great to see. We shall see, though. So thank you so much for joining me for episode 130. And as always, go Irish.